Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I found another antique store that will consign my art, and I went in there to talk to the guy today. And I showed him a bunch of stuff that I made, some out of bismuth and a bunch out of pewter. And I was asking him which metal he liked better, and he liked the bismuth better. It's kind of a trade-off, right? Bismuth is much more brittle. It's hard to get it to form solid casts, right? It tends to form cracks as it's solidifying, but it can be anodized, right? Pewter forms much more smooth patterns, but it can't be anodized, right? So I was thinking about the trade-off, and he liked bismuth better, which is great because bismuth is a lot cheaper at the moment. Got to point out at the moment, but it kind of reminded me of my own life situation, right? Um, right now, bismuth is considerably cheaper than tin. It's historically an anomaly, that's for sure. But it really goes to show the valuations of those metals is based more on perception than on practicality, right? Just about everybody that I sell the art to prefers bismuth compared to tin. But for other uses, maybe not so much, right? Actually, I had another funny story involving this one time. I was selling some bismuth Buddhas, and this guy was wondering if I could use some less expensive metal. It's a 10-pound Buddha, and he wondered if I could use a less expensive metal. And I thought about it, and I really didn't have that many options, believe it or not. It's a silicone mold. I couldn't pour zinc into it, too high a melting point. The only realistic option would be lead, right? But then I'd have to coat it with something to make it safe to touch, and that would be just too much effort just to shave some costs off of the material, right? And so I really didn't have. He eventually bought one out of bismuth, but he wondered if I could use some other metal, and then I realized I didn't have all that many options. And so, why do I bring this up? Well, unfortunately, this is a good metaphor for how I feel in my life. Right, I feel like a piece of bismuth in a sea full of lead or not lead, tin, gold, uh, uh, other metals that are silver. And so, even though I have some practical uses, right now there's a lot of perception about me, right? So, for example, this morning I talked about missing out on going to Portland, Oregon for a video game event. So, in large part because it would be unpopular for me to say that I'm going on vacation alone, right? A lot of times at various workplace functions, um, I have to pull myself out due to food allergies, dietary restrictions. I actually got written up at my last job. I walked out of we had a team planning meeting, but there was pizza in there, and I had to keep a good distance from it. And eventually, uh, I walked out of it because it made me uncomfortable. And so I said, if you have important minutes you want to send to me, shoot them off. But this is making me really uncomfortable. And my boss wrote me up for it. I was teaching at a math tutoring center. He wrote me up for it. He realized he probably couldn't write up about food allergies, so he wrote up that I'm not a good team player and that I caused disruption at a meeting. I know what he was going after, and that's in an ideal world. I can you imagine if we lived in a world where there was no food, right, or alcohol, right? Because alcohol is a big one for me as well. I really despise being in a drunk environment. I don't drink, but even when other people are drunk, right, I feel like I belong in the wrong universe, right? I think our relationship with food and alcohol is also pretty toxic, right? So, for example, people treat food like it's a homogeneous substance, right? Well, anytime you see somebody saying like you can't bring outside food in here, you got to realize these people are looking at food as a homogeneous substance when it's not, right? Or they think that food is food, right? I got to point out, we have the saying love is love, right? It works with love, it doesn't work with food, right? People have differences in how they interact with food, right? Can you imagine if there was a planet where there was intelligent life and they had only one food substance, right? Can you imagine how life would be like? You wouldn't have to worry about prejudice because of differences in diet. You wouldn't have religious persecution due to food, at least due to food, right? Due to other things, maybe, right? So imagine a planet made of solid bismuth, right? Oceans of bismuth there as well, right? And uh, bismuth could be like our water, right? It would be the solvent of life there. And I would imagine the main food substance there would be the radioisotopes, right? Especially polonium 210, right? Oh my God, I would thrive on such a planet because I wouldn't have to worry about no outside food. There's only one food substance, right? I wouldn't have to worry about persecution about how I eat, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.